Chapter 7, Credit Farmers, Baseraid, Bioware, and an exclusive interview with our smuggler Senator Firestar. Live from our studio on the only server worth playing on, Good Morning Star Wars Galaxies, you're receiving the Sunrunner signal. Thanks everyone for tuning in today. I'm Durgan.
And I'm Harrison.
And from the Unbound, the one, the only, the greatest ocean you've ever seen, Kungg, Ismir!
Opening up today, we've all been waiting for the massive set of changes coming with the new Chapter 7, but could it be possible we're about to see it in a matter of days?
That's right, Durgan. Deadmeat announced recently in the gameplay forums that he was hoping to get the final build of Chapter 7 on the live servers within the next week. Now, obviously, people have noticed that there are still a serious amount of bugs with Chapter 7, but, to be honest, we've been waiting so long for it, there's so many changes, and there's so many fixes that have gone in, that until it goes live and is tested by a much larger player base, I don't know how much more testing they could do with it. I think we're ready for it, let's hope they are too.
Well, obviously this is coming on fast, and there's going to be a lot to adjust to, but Harrison, what do you see the three biggest changes being?
Well, it's hard to nail down only three changes, but it's generally speaking, first of all, the new rewards with the collection system and the heroic encounters. It's probably going to change a bit in combat, and especially PvP, I think, the way people stack stuff. Secondly, they're changing the medic and officer professions quite a bit. They're giving officers different timers for their specials instead of just one for their AoEs, giving them a little bit more damage output. I believe they're balancing their grenades with commandos. Medic's also getting some timer changes, which people have kind of complained about, but we'll see what happens when they change that. Thirdly, more than anything else, it gives us somewhere else to go besides Restus.
Alright, we've all seen them. A group of 8 randomly named noobs on swoops riding around remote player cities collecting credits to sell back to us. But there's a new twist now. Now they're riding right into Restus. Rather than collecting just cash, they're now collecting Restus commendations. Now this raises some interesting concerns. Traditional credit farming revolved around generating credits from thin air and injecting them into the player economy, but this operation, theoretically, would thrive on selling comms to our players in order to gain the credits straight from our economy itself. Now in a situation where the credits were coming from nowhere in the past and allegedly inflating our economy, we're seeing a situation where credits are being drawn out of our economy and being sold right back into it. Pretty much the opposite. What do you two see in this?
Well, it's hard to speak about any economy that's not regulated and not determined by any authority of power, but I don't think it's affecting it more so than it has before with the other regular credit farmers, I should say.
It might be an unpopular thing to think, but I have to say that really we don't have an economy. An economy is when money goes in and is spent and there's a finite amount. What we have is an infinite amount of cash that comes constantly in with very little to spend it on. The idea that somehow we can trade the comms to people who are grinding just comms and they'll sell them to us for these credits, which then they'll send back to us, is damaging our economy. I just can't get on board with that, I'm sorry. Without decay, there isn't really a SWG economy, and with an infinite amount of credits as opposed to a finite amount of credits, the inflation just goes through the roof. They're not harming the economy, there isn't one.
And obviously the discussion killer on that one is the fact it shouldn't be happening to begin with, as it's against the end-user license agreement, but, when is that ever going to change, right?
On to the weather. Now, we've had a lot of feedback recently, and I kind of agree with it, that last time on the weather, Kungg seemed a bit grouchy. To cheer him up, we've dressed him up as Santa.
It's snowing on Mustafar. I hate you guys. Today's forecast is sunny with a side of Baseraid. Casa from PRM is starting an initiative to get base warfare going again by keeping a score for each side in major base battles. All you have to do is open a thread called The Score. Post within 30 minutes of the time you drop an SF base. If the base is already placed, just post in the thread 3.5 hours before it goes vulnerable. Be sure to include the location. In order to score a point, you must destroy the base with a screenshot of it blowing up. Another way to get the point is to defend the base through documented hold time.
Alright, and now with Harrison Kale, it's time for Ask Ace. Alright, our first question today is, how do you spell Naratus?
Natirus, of course. Our intro has it right. It's the actual server that's had it misspelled for 4 years.
It was an Easter egg.
And from all of us here at this Sunrunner signal,
Keep lodging in.
Alright, our next question is, what do you think of same-faction bounty hunting?
The game allows it. Simply put, it disrupts PvP, it gives you a bad name, it pisses people off. It's your choice to do it, so I guess you choose to live with the bad name or whatever else it gives you. The end.
Dear Ace, I followed Ismir's advice, but now she's divorcing me in-game and claiming half my Black Sun Ace helmet. What do I do? What?
The answer is to never listen to Ismir about anything.
you know I'm sitting right here, Ace.
Okay, we've got a fan who asks, what's your name going to be in BioWare's new KOTOR MMO?
I think we should rephrase that question, Durgan. What's dumber than ranting about a game that's been announced? Ranting about a game that hasn't been announced.
The genius of the day goes to half of the SWG player base that's buying into the article posted by the well-renowned investigative journalists at Primotech? What the hell is a Primotech?
Okay, time for a little research. Primotech, LLC, was founded in the summer of 2003 by a bunch of people. It's a site that's been doing hardware and software reviews and gaming reviews on and off and constantly relaunching itself. This is the fourth incarnation. It's worth pointing out that before this rumor, no one had heard of them. It's worth pointing out that all the other news stories they have had no comments on the front page. But with this story, suddenly Primotech is on everyone's mind. This story has been commented by everybody and his nerf herder, and suddenly their page counts are going through the roof.
Well, posts have been going up on practically every board linking to this Primotech article. On the SOE boards, a thread about this confirmation was moved from gameplay discussion to general Star Wars. One person went so far as to say, they moved it, they didn't delete it, it must be true.
Yes, because clearly SOE is in league with Electronic Arts and Bioware on this project.
But people are going to go nuts over this. One poster is guaranteeing realistic space combat, atmospheric flight, a game that's going to be everything SWG should have been.
But the kill line is the first one in the article, a source close to BioWare. You know what this tells me? It tells me this is not official. It's not a confirmation. It's a friend of a dog whose owner is a FedEx guy delivering to the BioWare Austin studio. We've got nothing from any of this, and certainly no promise to back up any of the features some of these nut jobs on the GSW board are guaranteeing are going to kill SWG and draw everyone into the new game.
Alright, let's go back to what we do know about this. Fact 1. BioWare is working on an MMO project. We knew this 18 months ago. Fact 2. They have licensed the Hero engine by Simultronics as well as stream-based technology. Knew this 14 months ago. Fact 3. BioWare has done some good games, some mediocre games, but however they have never done any MMO games, so we've got a little inexperience in a critical department.
Very true. However, Blizzard had no MMO experience prior to releasing World of Warcraft. Could go either way. Let's look back at the last MMO that was supposed to destroy Sony and save the SWG community. Now, some of you may remember when the NGE came out, a little known games developer called Farlan was releasing a game called Dark and Light. This was going to be everything that we didn't have. It was going to be one streaming world, huge and rambling, that we could explore with every other player, no separate servers. It would take you weeks to walk from one to the other. A crafting system so complex and intricate, you would have to understand the game's mythology and lore to get into it. Classes and characterizations and the kind of customization that we as MMO players only dream of. If you want PvP, it's there. If you want RP, it's there. If you want to just chill out in your house, it's all there. Dark and Light came, Dark and Light failed, Dark and Light got sued by the people who licensed the engine.
Conclusion? The same thing we knew before October 19th. BioWare is working on an MMO. It's using the Hero engine. It may or may not be Star Wars. It may or may not be any good. But until there's an official announcement, anything else you hear is probably a heaving pile of excrement. Then again, I gotta hand it to the guy that talked about the NGE about 2 months before it came out, and he was right. But
Exactly, but that was just one time. We've had how many other rumors that turned out to be false?
SWG for PlayStation, SWG for Xbox, SWG 2 will definitely be released within 2 weeks. SWG ate my hamster and is now Elvis working in a small McDonald's in Des Moines, Iowa.